Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Korea News Briefing. I'm your host and chief editor, bringing you the most critical updates across the peninsula for this Sunday, February 22nd, 2026. We begin with a story that has completely shaken the nation's political landscape. In a historic and unprecedented ruling, the Seoul Central District Court has officially sentenced former South Korean President Yoon Yeol to life imprisonment with hard labor. This verdict, delivered this past week on February 19th, marks the conclusion of one of the most tumultuous chapters in modern Korean history. The court found the ousted leader guilty of leading an insurrection, following his short-lived and widely condemned declaration of martial law back in December 2024. Judge Yoon delivered a scathing rebuke during the sentencing, pointing out the staggering social costs and international reputational damage inflicted on South Korea. The judge emphasized that the martial law decree was a direct attempt to disrupt the constitutional order, noting Yoon's refusal to attend hearings and his complete lack of remorse. While the prosecution had aggressively sought the death penalty, the court opted for life behind bars, acknowledging that his authoritarian push ultimately failed within hours after 190 brave lawmakers broke through military cordons to lift the decree. Unsurprisingly, Yoon remains defiant. Through his legal team, he released a statement maintaining that his actions were solely for the sake of the nation and dismissed the court as heavily biased against him. Outside the courthouse, the scenes were incredibly intense. Hundreds of conservative supporters waving flags chanted for his release, while opposing groups celebrated the ruling just a street away, separated by a massive police presence. For our viewers living in Korea, the political atmosphere remains highly charged, but everyday life continues without disruption. We will continue to monitor this monumental story. Staying on the topic of the 2024 martial law fallout, the wheels of justice are turning rapidly here in Seoul. In a closely related and equally significant legal development, former Interior Minister Lee Sung-min has been officially convicted and sentenced to 7 years in prison. This pivotal ruling was handed down recently, setting a stern precedent leading up to the sentencing of the former president himself. The court found Lee deeply complicit in the disastrous martial law declaration, specifically convicting him of executing direct orders to cut off power and water to major media outlets in a blatant attempt to silence the press and control the public narrative. The presiding judges made it unequivocally clear that Lee abused his high-ranking governmental authority, betraying the public trust by prioritizing illegal executive commands over the constitutional rights of the citizens. The prosecution meticulously laid out how Lee coordinated with military counterintelligence to suppress journalistic freedom during those chaotic hours. Legal experts here in South Korea have noted that Lee's severe punishment effectively laid the groundwork and set the harsh sentencing environment that ultimately led to the maximum penalty for the former president. Alongside Lee, several other top-ranking officials faced the music this month. Former Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun was slapped with a staggering 30-year sentence for his central role in planning the measure and mobilizing troops, while former intelligence and police chiefs received sentences ranging from 10 to 18 years. For the Korean public, these series of convictions represent a powerful and necessary cleansing of the political system. It sends a resounding message to the world that South Korea's democratic institutions remain robust, resilient, and fully capable of holding even the highest-ranking officials accountable for their actions against the state. Turning our attention to foreign affairs, South Korea is currently standing at a major geopolitical crossroads. According to diplomatic sources and reports from the Korea Times, the South Korean government is seriously weighing a formal request to join the NATO-led PURL initiative. For those unfamiliar, PURL is a strategic program designed to purchase United States-manufactured weapons to support Ukraine in its ongoing conflict. If Seoul decides to participate, this move could radically strengthen its defense ties with Europe, acting as a massive catalyst for the country's already booming arms export industry. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs confirmed just this past Friday, February 20th, that they are continuing discussions with NATO on various ways to support Ukraine. However, this puts South Korea in a delicate balancing act. Historically, Seoul's position regarding countries engaged in active conflict has strictly focused on providing humanitarian aid and non-lethal military equipment, avoiding the direct supply of lethal weapons. A ministry official emphasized that this non-lethal stance remains the baseline, but the pressure from Western allies is mounting. Joining the PURL initiative would allow South Korea to indirectly assist the Ukrainian war effort by facilitating the flow of U.S. weapons, which could be a strategic loophole to bypass their domestic limitations on exporting lethal aid. This decision carries enormous weight. On one hand, it opens up lucrative markets for South Korea's defense contractors looking to expand exports to NATO member states. On the other hand, it risks severely escalating diplomatic tensions with Russia, an outcome Seoul has tried to meticulously avoid. The global community is watching closely to see if President Lee Jae-myung's administration will pivot toward a more aggressive international defense posture or maintain its cautious, non-lethal boundary in the ongoing Eastern European conflict. In business and economy news, South Korea has officially unveiled an incredibly aggressive financial blueprint for 2026, aimed at cementing its status as an unstoppable global technology powerhouse. The government announced a jaw-dropping 252 trillion won policy finance package, marking a significant increase from last year's budget. The goal? To hypercharge the economy and secure an untouchable competitive edge in future industries. What's most interesting for investors and tech enthusiasts is how this money is being spent. Using a strict selection and focus strategy, about 60% of this massive budget, roughly 150 trillion won, will be aggressively funneled into 5 critical priority sectors. The largest slice of the pie, exactly 42.5 trillion won, is earmarked for advanced strategic industries. This means massive government backing for semiconductors, next-generation displays, and secondary batteries. South Korea is desperately trying to maintain its super gap technological lead over rival nations like China and the US. Furthermore, another 24.7 trillion won is dedicated to promising future industries. This is where the magic happens for the startup ecosystem, as funding will target the rapid development of artificial intelligence, robotics, and aerospace technologies. Finally, a significant portion will be used to modernize traditional manufacturing sectors like shipbuilding and automotive, forcing a rapid transition toward eco-friendly practices and digitalization. Economists are calling this one of the most proactive industrial policies in recent Korean history. It's a bold gamble to ensure the nation doesn't fall behind in the global AI and green energy race. For expats working in tech, engineering, or venture capital here in Korea, this is the ultimate green light. Expect to see a massive surge in job opportunities, aggressive headhunting, and huge scaling within Korean startups throughout 2026 as this capital floods into the market. Balancing out the excitement of the government's 252 trillion won investment plan, we have a newly updated economic forecast from South Korea's leading state-run think tank. The Korea Development Institute, or KDI, released a highly anticipated economic outlook report this week, officially raising its 2026 gross domestic product growth forecast from 1.8% to 1.9%. While a 0.1% increase might sound incredibly tiny to the average person, in macroeconomic terms, it is a crucial indicator of resilience. The KDI attributes this positive revision to 2 main factors: overwhelmingly strong semiconductor exports driven by the global artificial intelligence boom, and a slow but steady recovery in domestic consumption. The global thirst for advanced memory chips, deeply integrated into massive data centers and AI models, has been the absolute lifeline for the Korean export market. As global tech giants scramble for hardware, Korean chipmakers are reaping the rewards, pulling the national economy upward. However, it's not entirely sunny skies. The report highlighted significant headwinds, notably the delay in the recovery of the local construction sector and rising trade anxieties due to incoming U.S. tariff hikes. Despite these hurdles, inflation is expected to average out at a manageable 2.1% in 2026. The KDI notes that accumulated interest rate cuts are finally beginning to impact households, slowly improving real incomes and loosening tight wallets. International economists, including those at Goldman Sachs, have warned that excluding the tech and semiconductor sectors, South Korea's broader growth remains fairly sluggish. So, what does this mean for the everyday resident or expat in Korea? Expect stable prices at the grocery store, but the job market outside of the tech and AI sectors might remain highly competitive and somewhat constrained this year. Continuing with our focus on the rapid evolution of Korea's technology sector, the local startup landscape is experiencing a massive identity shift in early 2026. The days of easily securing millions for generic delivery apps or basic e-commerce platforms are officially over. According to a new report by Korea Tech Desk, the venture capital ecosystem has entered a period of intense refinement. Capital is now flowing almost exclusively towards startups demonstrating profound technical depth, specifically those building data infrastructure, physical AI, and deep tech applications. In the first week of February alone, 10 highly specialized startups secured fresh funding. A prime example is the spatial intelligence startup Mobile Tech, which just secured a massive 13 billion won, or 9.8 million US dollars in a pre-IPO round. Mobile Tech develops 3D digital twin infrastructure that allows autonomous vehicles and robots to accurately interpret physical environments. They are even supplying critical data to NVIDIA's autonomous simulation platforms. Other major investments this month poured into K-beauty technology driven by machine learning and data-driven healthcare solutions. Venture capitalists in Seoul are showing immense discipline, completely pivoting away from pure momentum and hype-driven investments. They are now rigorously seeking regulatory resilience, technological defensibility, and cross-border scalability. This trend aligns perfectly with the government's newly announced financial roadmap. For foreign tech talent eyeing a move to South Korea, or expats currently working in the startup scene around Gangnam and Pangyo, the message is incredibly clear. If you are an engineer, a data scientist, or an AI specialist, your skills are in higher demand than ever before. However, if your business model lacks a highly sophisticated technological foundation, raising capital in Seoul this year will be a steep uphill battle. Now, let's transition to some incredibly practical news for the international community, particularly for our viewers tuning in from the Philippines or those expecting family and friends to visit. If you've been hoping for a smoother process to bring your loved ones to Seoul, this is exactly the update you've been waiting for. Effective this past Friday, February 20th, 2026, the South Korean government has officially rolled out major relaxations to the visa application requirements for Filipino citizens. The Korea Visa Application Center in Manila, commonly known as KVAC, announced that they are permanently waiving the strict requirement to submit 3 months' worth of bank statements for all types of visa applications. For a long time, proving financial stability via lengthy bank records has been a major hurdle and a huge source of anxiety for tourists wanting to experience K-culture firsthand. Furthermore, there are fantastic updates for student applicants. Instead of needing both the original school certificate and a physical copy of their student ID, students can now simply submit one or the other. Also, if multiple people from the same family or company are applying together, you only need to submit one single set of common documents, like invitation letters or family registry proofs, attached to the lead applicant's file. This significant reduction in red tape is part of South Korea's aggressive post-pandemic inbound tourism push, specifically targeting K-drama fans and K-pop enthusiasts eager to visit locations like Jeju Island and the vibrant streets of Hongdae. With KETA waivers already extended for certain visa-exempt stays until the end of this year, a budget-friendly trip to Korea just became significantly more accessible. For expats living here, this means it's the absolute perfect time to invite your family over for a beautiful spring vacation without the headache of endless paperwork. Before we dive into our highly anticipated K-culture segment, let's take a comprehensive look at your weather forecast for today, Sunday, February 22nd, 2026, and the upcoming work week. Whether you're planning a weekend cafe hopping trip or commuting to the office, you will definitely need to bundle up. Across the Korean peninsula, we are experiencing a very crisp, late winter chill. Starting with the capital city, Seoul is seeing surprisingly clear and sunny skies today, but please do not let the sunshine fool you. The daytime high will only reach around 10 degrees Celsius, which is about 50 degrees Fahrenheit, while the overnight low will plummet down to roughly 0.5 degrees Celsius or 33 degrees Fahrenheit. There is currently a 0% chance of rain today, making it dry and cold. However, looking ahead to the start of the work week, Seoul residents should brace for a noticeable shift. While Monday remains dry, Tuesday, February 24th, brings a high probability of precipitation with up to 35 millimeters or 1.38 inches of rain expected. We might even see the possibility of a light snow mix as temperatures drop midweek. Moving down south to the coastal city of Busan, the climate is slightly milder but noticeably wetter. Today, Busan is experiencing highs of around 16 degrees Celsius and lows near 6 degrees Celsius. Unlike Seoul, Busan is seeing light rain showers today, so definitely grab that umbrella if you're heading out to Handy Beach. Or the bustling local markets. This rainy trend in Busan will continue intermittently through Thursday. Finally, for those lucky enough to be on Jeju Island, expect brisk ocean winds with temperatures hovering around 12 degrees Celsius during the day. Overall, for the next 7 days, the entire country will remain entrenched in this cold, transitional winter to spring pattern. Make sure to wear layers and stay warm. All right, armies. I hope you are sitting down for this one, because the news you have been desperately waiting for has finally arrived, and it is absolutely massive. It is officially confirmed, K-pop juggernaut BTS is gearing up for a colossal full-group comeback in 2026, marking their triumphant return after all 7 members successfully completed their mandatory military service. According to industry insiders and Big Hit Music, the group is set to release their highly anticipated 5th studio album, beautifully titled Ari Rang, next month on March 20th, 2026. This will be their very first full group project since the release of their 2022 anthology album, Proof. But the album release is just the beginning of the madness. Just one day after the drop on March 21st, BTS will host a breathtaking global comeback live event right in the historical heart of the city at Gwanghwamun Square in Seoul. Even better, the entire event will be live-streamed globally on Netflix, broadcasting simultaneously to over 190 countries. This effectively turns a standard promotional event into an unprecedented worldwide cultural phenomenon. And if you thought getting tickets to see them live would be easy, think again. The boys are preparing for a record-breaking world tour, spanning 82 shows across 34 cities in Asia, Europe, and North America. The tour officially kicks off on April 9th at the Goyang Sports Complex main stadium. Ticket demand is already shattering previous industry records, proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that their global dominance hasn't slipped an inch during their hiatus. The members have been incredibly successful with their solo projects over the last couple of years, but nothing compares to the magic of the 7 members together. Start saving your money, prepare your light sticks, and get ready for the biggest K-pop event of the decade. The excitement in the K-pop world doesn't stop with BTS. We are currently witnessing one of the most intensely competitive months for girl groups in recent history, and Blackpink sits right at the center of the battlefield. YG Entertainment has officially confirmed that Blackpink is returning to claim their throne with their highly anticipated 3rd mini-album, titled Deadline. The album is scheduled to drop this coming Friday, February 27, 2026. This monumental release features 5 brand new tracks, and industry insiders are already buzzing about production contributions from global heavyweight Diplo alongside their longtime hitmaker, Teddy's collaborator 24. Deadline marks a massive full group return, following an extended period where all 4 members focused heavily on their spectacularly successful solo careers and high-fashion brand ambassadorships. This comeback serves as a critical test of Blackpink's enduring durability at the absolute top of the global tier. The timing is particularly intriguing, as it follows their record-breaking 7-month world tour, where they became the first K-pop girl group to ever headline London's prestigious Wembley Stadium. But the road to the top of the February charts won't be a simple walk in the park. They are stepping directly into a fierce chart war against other massive 4th and 5th generation girl groups, particularly IVE, who are dominating the digital streams right now with their own comeback. Fans are heavily mobilizing on social media, streaming platforms, and voting apps to ensure their respective groups secure those coveted music show trophies. Whether you are a dedicated Blink or simply a casual fan of catchy pop music, This upcoming Friday is going to be an absolute feast for the ears. Make sure to pre-save the album and get ready to stream. Calling all K-drama enthusiasts. Cancel your weekend plans because the February 2026 drama lineup is absolutely stacked. As the winter chill begins to fade, streaming platforms and local broadcasting networks are heating up our screens with some of the most highly anticipated premieres of the year. Leading the pack this month is Netflix's psychological thriller The Art of Sarah, which officially released all 8 of its gripping episodes to massive global fanfare. Starring the incredibly versatile Shin Hye-sun and the charismatic Lee Jun-hyuk, the series follows the dark and twisted life of a woman who fakes multiple identities to become a luxury icon, only to have a relentless detective slowly unravel her secrets. Early reviews are already calling it a masterpiece of suspense and tension. If you prefer romance over thrillers, Disney Plus has exactly what you need with In Your Radiant Season, starring fan favorites Lee Sung-kyung and Chae Jong-hyuk. This heart-fluttering melodrama premiered just 2 days ago on February 20th. It beautifully captures a poignant reunion between two people after 7 years apart, heavily infused with emotional depth and a touch of magical fantasy elements. Chemistry between the two leads is reportedly off the charts, and for fans of intense dark narratives, don't miss Bloody Flower, also streaming on Disney+. Starring rising actor Ryan, this serial killer thriller poses intense moral dilemmas that will leave you questioning everything about justice and ethics. From deep psychological mysteries to swoon-worthy romances, February has delivered a perfectly curated collection of cinematic experiences. Whether you are tuning in from your couch here in Seoul or watching globally on Viki or Netflix, these storylines are guaranteed to dominate social media conversations for weeks to come. Grab your favorite Korean snacks, find a cozy blanket, and happy binge watching. We close today's briefing by looking past the glittering success of K-pop and semiconductor exports, focusing instead on the daily reality of the Korean economy. While macro numbers look bright on paper, prominent international voices are raising critical warnings about the financial health of the average Korean household. Andrew Tilton, the chief Asia-Pacific economist at Goldman Sachs, issued a sobering analysis this week regarding South Korea's highly polarized economy. He highlighted that despite the explosive world-beating performance of the nation's tech and AI sectors, underlying domestic demand remains alarmingly sluggish. This means that regular citizens are simply not spending money. Tilton pointed out 3 massive structural headwinds actively choking local consumption: a rapidly aging demographic, an intimidatingly high level of household debt, and a noticeable stagnation in real wage growth post-COVID-19. While Korean retail investors, affectionately dubbed westbound ants, are heavily pouring their capital into U.S. tech stocks for better returns, local businesses such as restaurants, retail shops, and domestic service providers are feeling a severe pinch. The contrast is staggering. A chip manufacturer in Pyeongtaek might be seeing record-breaking bonuses this year, while a small business owner in Myeongdong struggles to stay afloat amidst high operational costs and cautious consumers. The fear is that the spillover effect, where tech wealth trickles down into the broader economy, is currently failing to materialize. The Bank of Korea and government policymakers are under immense pressure to execute financial deregulation and stimulate localized growth before this two-track economy creates an unbridgeable wealth gap. For expats, this means you might notice your favorite local mom-and-pop shops running tighter operations, even as the nation headlines global financial news for its AI triumphs. That concludes our broadcast for today. Stay warm, and we will see you tomorrow.